Anyways, on this Wednesday, the 16th day of July, 2025, welcome in, guys, episode 1168 of the radio program we call The Press Box, coming to you on great radio stations around the Southeast, including our friends in Foley, Alabama. Hello, down in God's country, WHEAP, AM 1310, 92.5 FM, booming us from the beaches to the Bay. Glad to have you guys aboard there or listening online anywhere in the world, courtesy of the website, PressBoxRadio.com, or the PressBox app, which you can download for free in the Apple or Google Play stores. And new this week, live from SEC Football Media Days, video on the brand new PressBox Radio YouTube page. It is youtube.com/PressBoxRadio. You'll find us there. Mike Grace, your host, old play-by-play guy, been hanging around press boxes all across the country for the better part of the last 30 years or so. And so I had tons of friends there, and now they meet me here. We talk about sports and other things, and we got some great guys to join me to do that. One of my Monday, Wednesday, Friday guys, former Alabama high school and Mississippi State basketball stud, 3-year starter, and team captain at Mississippi State, a 3-time academic All-SEC pick, and member of that 1996 Final Four team. Now coaching and teaching, mentoring at B Hyche 22. He is Bart Hyche, coming off a big day for your Mississippi State Bulldogs, man. You guys did your NIL golf tournament yesterday, yeah?
Yes, good morning, gentlemen. Had a great turnout. A lot of familiar faces, some new ones also. Some players were there. Coach Jan's made a great speech. And, just optimism, coming off 3 NCAA tournaments. We'd like to get an NCAA tournament win for Coach Jan's. But at the same time, I didn't realize this, but chasing a record to tie. I know this doesn't sound like a lot to a lot of people, but we're chasing the 4th NCAA tournament in a row. And that's a good place to be.
Absolutely.
So yesterday, but it was hot in Jackson.
Was it now? Yeah, Jackson, Mississippi. I would think so. Hot in the middle of July, probably. Well, you said again, hope springs eternal. There is optimism with Mississippi State basketball. I think the same could be said about Mississippi State football. And in fact, head coach Jeff Lebby and his crew roaming around the College Football Hall of Fame today as day 3 of SEC Football Media Days gets underway. Our guys there are regular with the Westwood One, Compass Media, and others. He is Colin Lacy, who comes to us again from inside the College Football Hall of Fame, back on Digital Drive for day 3 of SEC Football Media Days. Assisting alongside Colin Lacy is our friend Brent Osborne, who joins us this week, decade of high school football coaching, and now Colin's on-air partner for Southeast Bullock, high school football on Foundry Broadcasting over in Statesboro, Georgia. SEC Media Days, fellas, 2 days down, 2 to go. Y'all having any fun?
Yeah, a little bit. It's yesterday was a whirlwind because this place was slammed with Auburn and Georgia both here. A lot of media in Texas. A lot of media because those are probably the 2 closest. But a full day. Got to hang out last night with Jake Crane and Blaine Crane. First time I'd ever met those guys face to face this week. But got to hang out last night at Stats. That's just across the street.
Cool.
And get to hang out and share a few stories, tales.
Good wins at Stats.
Thoughts, opinions.
There's a lot of thoughts and opinions being thrown around last night.
Maybe an adult beverage or 2 thrown around in there with the appetizers in there as well. Well, glad to have you guys back with us. We've got another big day. We are scheduled to visit with the voice of the Oklahoma Sooners. Toby Rowland has been there all week on the Digital Drive, and he'll join us live. We're expecting that. We've also got all kinds of interviews in the can. These guys have been working like crazy the last couple of days, finding folks all around. We've got Laura Rutledge of ESPN and the SEC Network. We've got Craig Way, voice of the Texas Longhorns, and there are others coming, so stick around. We're kind of going on the fly today. We've got a plan, but we also have Mississippi State's contingent there. Bart, thanks to you and your connections with the athletic department, they promise they bring us as many guys as they can. So if we get some of those state guys, including head coach Jeff Lebby, we will bring him to you here. But what Blake Shapen, the quarterback, is with him as well, right? And which would be fantastic. Blake lost in week 4, I think, due to injury last year. So great to have him back, man.
What time do they start coming through and sitting down?
Oh, they've already been.
We've already recorded one of them. We talked to Brennan Thompson, wide receiver for Mississippi State, and that dude's impressive.
Yep.
So y'all don't need me to call. Y'all don't need me to call nobody. Y'all are good.
No, I've already had 2 people with Mississippi State pins on their lapel come up and be like, "Is this Bart Hyche's show?"
Yeah, buddy.
Sure is.
Well, just let me know if they're not acting accordingly. And we'll make some
you have your ducks in a row.
Halftime adjustment.
Yes,
you have your ducks in a row. You have made your reputation known, even when you are 4 states away.
I will tell y'all this. I pulled one
Oh.
I pulled one Monday night.
Did you now?
Yeah, no, I pretty much wear it on my sleeve. And
Does it start a new nickname?
no. Well, we might can start one. It'll be the first one we have for one of these people. We walked in and there's a room. There's a person that I just, over the years have had some dealings with that, just not fond of.
Yeah.
There's people out there like that. There's a lot of people out there like that. Probably think about me like that. Well, this person came in and we sitting down at the table with me and Charlie Winfield and a buddy of mine.
Yeah.
Came down and sat right next to me. And right when he sat down, I said, nope. And I gently got up and got my coat and went and sat somewhere else.
Did you now? You could, I mean, you could like you'll play peace there and no. You just
he ain't no count.
By the way, if you were here Monday, we learned a new Southern slang that we had never heard
a lot of
and didn't believe me.
We didn't believe you, but I found it in the Redneck Dictionary. I found count in the Red Shirt Dictionary. Let me pull it up if I can find the definition again for you here, boys.
You sure it was the redneck or hillbilly?
And no, this is redneck slang. This is from the Redneck Slang Encyclopedia Dictionary. And it goes, I've heard comedians like Jeff Foxworthy and others make jokes about Southern slang terms. Being raised in a rural part of Alabama, terms I use every day that confuse people who are raised in more urban or suburban areas. I was completely dumb to this until one of the phrases specifically is, that's some count. And you may be saying, what? I'll explain. That's some count simply means that is good or that is worth something. An example would be, that chocolate cake is some count. Okay? Or immediately after tasting something or smelling something, you'd say, oh, that's some count. So yeah.
I like the emphasis you put on the quotes.
But this is like y'all talk about the 3-time academic, this, that, whatever. It doesn't just come with like things you learned in school.
That's right. Yeah.
You got street cred.
You have to have street cred from educate people on where you're from, because they might not believe it when you start talking about it.
There's street cred, and then there's street cred from the streets of Winfield, Alabama. You know what I'm saying? So I mean,
the gravel street cred.
Stop it now.
It's more dirt road, but thanks.
Don't be ugly. Well, again, yeah. Today's show is count. Can I just tell you that? Because again, we got Toby Rowland, voice of the Oklahoma Sooners, coming by, and who knows what else is going on. Yesterday, it was a day 2 of SEC Media Days. Auburn was there with head coach Hugh Freeze and their quarterback, brand new quarterback Jackson Arnold. Kirby Smart was there with his quarterback, Gunnar Stockton. Steve Sarkisian was there with his quarterback, some guy named Arch Manning. And Josh Heupel was there looking for a quarterback. The Tennessee head coach is still looking for one. We're going to get to all kind of goodies. We've got Major League Baseball news, the All-Star game last night. I'll just ask point blank. You guys watch any of it?
Nope. I did.
Did you now? Did you watch to the end?
I saw Rooker, and then I saw the amazing, I don't know what the rules mean, but I think it turned out like everybody would have hoped and what their ideal was for extra innings. So explain to everybody how they do the end of the baseball.
Yeah, we'll try to do this quickly. They do now, because they've had some issues with the games going extra innings when they're tied and that kind of jazz and running out of players and la-da-da-da. So they've instituted what is a new, basically a swing-off, a home run derby-style swing-off as the tiebreaker. And National League got off to a great start last night. A couple of runs in the first inning, including an infield single and run scored for Ronald Acuna Jr. In the 6th, Pete Alonso, Mets first baseman, gave the NL some breathing room with a 3-run Oppo Taco. And later in that same frame, Diamondback Corbin Carroll added a solo shot. So National League was up 6-0. NL pitchers had suffocated the AL lineup until the 7th inning when former Mississippi State Bulldog, where's my cowbell? Doggone it. Brent Rooker of the A's crushed a 3-run bomb. Another run that inning got the All-Stars within 2 at 6-4, and they tied it up with 2 more in their top of the 9th inning. Aroldis Chapman of the Red Sox worked a perfect bottom of the inning, so that sent us to the new home run derby-style tiebreaker. With a score 6-6, 3 hitters from each side take 3 swings each. The AL's Brent Rooker again, Randy Rosarina, and Jonathan Aranda combined for 3 home runs in their swings for the American League. Then the NL sent up a Kyle Stowers, who hit 1. And then Kyle Schwarber of the Phillies blasted 3 home runs on 3 swings. Arenado had a chance to tie it up, but came up mere feet from sending it to the next round. And so it was a National League win, technically 7-6. but the game ended 6-6. Schwarber named the MVP despite going 0 for 2 with a walk in the game itself. But his swing-off heroics make him the first Phillies player to win the All-Star Game MVP since Johnny Collison back in 1964.
Oh, Johnny.
Remember old Johnny? Oh, yeah. And the first non-pitcher to ever win the award while going hitless in the game, which is a weird little factoid. But kudos to Major League Baseball. They made it exciting. It was really cool. I was not watching it, I'll tell you that, but I watched the highlights today, this morning, first thing, and it really was cool. So kudos to Major League Baseball for getting something right.
Wait a minute. Of all of us on this show, are we saying that Bart Hyche was the only one that watched baseball last night?
It's probably the case. Yeah.
Roll Tide.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah,
We watched
I didn't
the
watch whoa, Compo.
Oh,
I
ho,
didn't
whoa,
watch
whoa.
all of it. And the only reason I was watching it, and I have a question for y'all.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find it. I wanted to take Ellie De La Cruz to hit a home run because I thought the odds would be outrageous because you're only going to get one or two at bats.
Right. Yeah.
I also wanted him to take him to have a stolen base.
Stolen base, right? Yeah.
You know, an all-star game, whatever.
Sure.
So you just said that old boy Schwarber went hitless, right?
He did, yeah.
Hit 3 bombs. If you would have had him to hit a home run, do you win the bet?
That's a great question. I don't know. I'm not sure what the rules would be there in the
What do you think, Brent?
extra.
I mean, I would say yes because it's still considered the game's still going on.
Yeah, still the game.
It's just
Yeah, you
it's just
don't.
extra innings.
All I'd like to know is why did that Dodgers manager pick Ellie? Would have hit one, and that would have been a great call on my part.
So what you're telling me is it wasn't a great call on your part.
I don't think it got in because I never got confirmation that it wasn't. I
I
didn't have the props on where I.
Okay. Well, I watched the first couple of innings. I did, and then we hit 10 o'clock Eastern time, and it was 83 degrees in the house. You know, our air conditioner went out this week. Oh yeah, AC is.
We're
out.
still out.
We're still waiting for the man. We turned it on last night when we went to bed about 10 o'clock, and it is cooler today, but it is limping. And so we did sleep a little better last night. But yeah,
we may have a solution for you, Mike. I was talking to our buddy Landrum Roberts from WJOX in Birmingham yesterday.
Yes, former roommate of our own Bart Hyche. Yeah,
right.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling him that you were having AC troubles yesterday.
Yeah,
and he said that if the man didn't show up, call him and he can walk you through it because he can do it.
He can do it. No, I called the man. I called the man. Man tells us he can't get here till Thursday. So we were like, wow, is there another man we can call? Because
he's here.
You and Carol Ann are gonna be walking around the house like Matthew McConaughey.
I'm not.
We don't need to know.
I can neither confirm nor deny our apparel during it was 83.
I was just talking about how they sweating in that movie.
It got to 83 in the house yesterday, and so we're better off today though. By the way, one more note on the I think I did not see this last night in the All-Star game. I knew they were going to do it, and I watched the full 3-minute presentation today. The tribute to Hank Aaron. They did a recreation of 715, honoring the late Hall of Famer Hank Aaron by recreating his record-breaking 715th home run. I'm pretty sure they used, like Harry Potter came in, they used some wizardry, some spells, and they said it was using a projection mapping and pyrotechnics. But I'm pretty sure there was some sorcery in there somewhere. After the 6th inning, the lights went down at Truist Park. Fans stood holding their cell phone lights. And the scene from April 8th, 1974, the old Atlanta Fulton County Stadiums, played out on the field, projected on the infield, and shown on the video board. High-tech images of Aaron and other players seen before a blaze of a fireball launched from home plate to signify the home run that pushed Aaron past Babe Ruth's then record, and to me, still record, of it was 714, now it's 755. Pretty cool stuff, though. If you can't see it, it's on the internet. You can find it up there on the Google machine. So pretty cool.
My question is, how many times did they test shooting what essentially looked like a Roman candle?
Yeah,
home plate out towards left center field. Yeah. Because you've got to make sure. Dang sure.
You got to make sure it gets there.
You've got to be sure that fire isn't still lit whenever it gets there.
Yeah, when it lands, yeah.
Problem.
Yeah. Well, it seemed perfect. They seemed to execute it perfect.
I don't know how Braves fans will feel about this. I didn't see that part. We were at dinner, and I just saw like the very end of the home run derby and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it was cool, man, because like it's a celebrated record, or
Oh yeah.
was, or is, or however you want to look at it. But did y'all see the highlight of the play that Matt Olson made?
Yes.
Well, the game got tied.
Behind third base, saved a run for the National League. Absolutely, yeah.
My
Huge.
goodness, like that. I just that's really one of the only good plays I've seen a Brave make all year. So I hate that it was an All Star game. I just kind of wanted to point that out. I thought it was
That's kind of
Yeah, the part that nobody's talking about is a Philly won the game in Atlanta.
They asked him that.
Yeah, I don't want to hear. I don't want to talk about
He just totally went, just totally pushed it by.
Yeah.
It's just he didn't even give y'all no hate.
Yeah, no, not a fan of. Matter of fact, the wife and I we snuck out last night. Went to a local restaurant here, just to enjoy some air conditioning and some dinner, rather than heating up the kitchen with the oven and the stove and that kind of.
Actually worked.
So we rolled around the corner of the old Outback Steakhouse here and had ourselves a bloomin' onion and a ribeye.
Cool.
And enjoyed the air conditioning. And it was about 47 degrees in the Outback Steakhouse yesterday. Or maybe it was just because we'd been in an 85-degree house all day. Either way, we enjoyed that. And I told her we were kind of talking about, the Phillies. And she was janking on Harper, Bryce Harper. She asked if Bryce Harper was playing. I said, well, he's been injured. She said, well, I don't like him very much, is what she said. And I'm like, well, I don't like him, but I kind of respect him. I think I'm okay with the way he plays the game. I'd love him if he were on my team, but obviously I don't like him because he's not on my team. But this guy named Kyle Schwarber, I got nothing for Schwarber, okay? And so I was going off to the missus about how I did not like Kyle Schwarber, and lo and behold, he's the hero last night. So
See, I'm the complete opposite. Bryce Harper can go take a number. Like, get lost. I'm done. But Schwarber, I'm okay with.
This cat went down to one knee to win the All-Star game. He hit bombs on his knees.
Oh, I'm not saying he's not good. I'm not saying he ain't good.
Would you dislike these people is this a divisional thing?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
If they're not in this division, if they play for the Cards, they play for the Cubs.
The only someone on the Phillies that Carol Ann doesn't like or likes less than Bryce Harper would be the guy she refers to as Smelly Cat. Is it Alex Baum that has the wet hair and squiggly beard and just he's Smelly Cat is basically what he is. So
he is what TV was singing about in Friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Smelly Cat.
I know one thing. We needed Bart Hyche here last night because we had Stats is a restaurant right across the street, completely rented out by I think it was
Chick-fil-A
Peach
Peach
Bowl
Bowl and Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Wow.
And they've got a rooftop. And that's where us and Jake Crane posted up.
Oh, yeah.
And so we saw the pregame flyover was circling around us.
Cool.
Yeah, we saw
before
like
they headed over to the stadium.
Yeah. Well, here's the real question I want. The number that I want today is Bart Hyche, over under on number of Dr. Peppers Colin Lacy has drank or will drink this week at football media days.
It's 4.5 a day.
Oh, easy. Oh, he had
over
4.5 before he went on the air.
I mean, look, if you look at the Zoom, Bart, it's he's got two right there.
That's the thing.
That's what you all call that double barrel. He's double barrel.
He's double barreling the Dr. Peppers. He is.
I'm pretty sure.
Day 3 SEC football media days. Who we got today? Mississippi State. Oh, some team named Alabama. Then Mississippi State as well. Florida and Oklahoma on the agenda today. We'll get into it more. But day 3 SEC football media days after a quick timeout. This is the Press Box. Cool beans.
I've got the Brennan Thompson one.
What he did in maroon and white.
It's the Southeastern Conference, and it's here, inside the press box.
It does mean a little bit more, and that's why we're all over it. SEC Football Media Days at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta all week long. Our Colin, Lacy, and Brent Osborne hanging out there for us. Mike Grace in the MGL Production Studios. Oh, I'm just 18 miles north of the College Football Hall of Fame, just up 85. Way over yonder in Starkville. No, I guess he's in Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson, Mississippi Hotel is where we find former Mississippi State basketball stud Bart Hyche. And by the way, Bart Hyche, Arch Manning was in the building yesterday at SEC Football Media Days, and there were folks who are not buying the hype.
Rogers.
And Bart Hyche is one of the guys. You got this started.
I did.
You did. You've been preaching it that you just didn't buy Arch Manning.
I'm not saying I'm not buying him. He's going to be a good quarterback.
Right.
I ain't buying him being the best quarterback in the SEC. That's what I'm not buying. And Jordan Rogers apparently agreed with me. He had him 5th.
He does indeed. He appeared on the Get Up program on ESPN earlier this week, and I did clip the audio. Now, they've got music running in the background, so forgive me for that. I couldn't figure out a way to get that out of there, and I looked for the clip all over the place without the music. But it's about 40 seconds here. It is Jordan Rogers of ESPN and the SEC Network talking about Arch Manning and the hype around the Texas quarterback.
Y'all have been drinking Paul Feinbaum's Kool-Aid for way too long. I have him as the 5th. Let me repeat that. The 5th best quarterback in the SEC. The hype train is out of control. And what are we basing this on? We're basing this on games last year against UTSA, Louisiana Monroe, and Mississippi State, who were 93rd, 103rd, and 118th in the scoring defense in the FBS last year. Look, I love Arch. I think he has a very high floor, but I don't think he's an elite talent when it comes to his arm ability, his ability to manipulate the pocket, to make guys miss, to change his arm angle. I think he's a really good quarterback, but the hype train's out of control.
I got to say this. Over the last couple of years, watching him on ESPN and especially on SEC Nation on Saturday mornings, I don't know that anybody studies film better than Jordan Rogers. He's just fantastic. And explaining it to me, the knucklehead at home, Jordan's fan. I just love him as an analyst, and you got to give some credence to what he's saying there, Bart Hyche.
I mean, the film part of studying the breakdown of just the quarterback position, how he explains it, the skill set he sees from all the different guys that he, analyzes. It's accuracy to me. I know he can run, but he going to show me he can make that 3rd and 8 throw on 3rd and 6 with a defender on somebody's back coming across the middle, or a long 13-yard out against single coverage where it's a long, second and 20 and you got to get down half of it or whatever. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in the league, and anytime that you slight someone in this world nowadays, or say that they might not be what they're being heralded to be, you don't know anything what you're talking about. He may be the best thing since Archie or Peyton or Eli. I'm just saying, I'd feel a lot more confident this was Eli or Peyton's kid. There you go.
Well, now,
Cooper, I'm just saying, guys.
And I heard somebody talk about this the other day, and Colin, I'll let you and Brent kind of bounce this around if you want to. The fact that it is Cooper's son. Cooper was injured as a wide receiver at Ole Miss, I think in his freshman or sophomore year at Ole Miss, and was unable to play. The doctors forced him to quit. And
but what was his talent level?
Well, I don't know. We don't know, and I don't know that he was Peyton in Peyton.
All I'm saying.
Yeah.
Fans will hate this. I'm not, but I think this kid is being heralded as, and I'm just not. I don't see the hype because I'm not sure that Cooper he's not. He sure wasn't the quarterback. If that makes sense, he wasn't a quarterback. He was a receiver. I'm just not ready to elevate Arch Manning or Cooper Manning into any elite positional place in football yet.
And part of the reason he was playing wide receiver is because little brother was playing quarterback. Yeah, Peyton and Cooper played high school together for a couple of years. Yeah.
And part of it too that we talked to Craig Way yesterday, the voice of the Texas Longhorns, and we're going to catch up with him on this show a little bit later on today. But whenever you think about it, there is part of it that even though he's not Peyton or Eli's son, part of it is when he goes into these environments, it's not his first time experience environments like that. It may be the first time he's taken snaps in those environments, but he's been to NFL playoff games. He's been to Super Bowls. He's been to Pro Bowls. So the moment isn't too big for him to be able to, because he's seen it. Now it's in a different perspective, in a different light. But I thought that was part of the interesting part of what we were talking about with Craig Way, because I asked him, because I really think, and Brent and I were talking about this yesterday, I think the national side of things overblows Arch Manning so much more than the local Austin contingency. The local Austin contingency know he's really good, think he's going to be really good, but I think the national media takes it to a whole nother level that blows it way out of proportion. I mean, you looked yesterday during Sarkisian's media availability. It was unbelievable. So the way they've got it set up down on the field here at the College Football Hall of Fame, you've got the head coach will do the media availability from the big stage in the middle. Then they have 3 kind of ancillary stages off to the side, 2 in the front, 1 in the back. Normally, the quarterback usually goes to, if you're looking at the stage, the front right.
Mm-hmm.
During Sarkisian's talk, the entire time, there was probably 15 to 20 people already standing around the stage that Arch Manning was going to be when it's 20 minutes after Sarkisian's done when he gets there. By the time Arch Manning got there, they were 5 deep in a semicircle all the way around him. It was by far, it wasn't even close to the most flooded area that we have seen so far here at SC, and I'd be shocked if there's anybody else that gets that kind of attention. But it's the only time there have been more than 1 or 2 hanging around a certain stage waiting for a player. And you're
it
talking
hasn't even been announced yet, the location, because normally he doesn't announce like where the players will be until after Sark gets off. And so me and Colin were back there hoping.
I wanted it to be the complete opposite side of the room where they put them.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
But like, what's interesting is that was something that we actually talked about last night with Jake Crane and them there at Stats. Was we talked about Arch Manning, and that's one thing that Arch had discussed, or sorry, that Jake had discussed about Arch, is that the issue is the hype was way too high for him, and that no matter what he does, whether he plays good or not, it's never going to probably be good enough unless he leads them to a national championship every year that he's starting. And anything under that is not going to be good enough because the hype is so high.
He doesn't have to do a ton to keep them relevant for a playoff run. I think the talent around him, the coaching around him for sure, is going to elevate his play. Again, I'm not there, man. I like watching people earn that type of media attention, if you want to be honest, and I just don't feel like he's earned it yet.
Well, and let me say this in his defense: he hasn't asked for it. I mean, this is something the media has put together. I don't know how you can handle it.
I don't know if he may not have, but I'll bet you on his family side, I think they've had a little to do with him being hyped. I don't think it's just the media.
I don't know about that.
I don't know, man. It's not. That's not the man.
Talking about people who go and tell NFL franchises that they're not coming there if you draft their son. Come on, man. This narrative about the media with the Mannings and Arch coming up, you're saying their family hasn't had anything to do with the media craze?
I mean, I don't think they have asked for it and brought it on. I think it's because of his family that he's getting the media craze, but I don't think it's anything that they've.
You don't think they're dictating any of this? Okay.
I don't.
Not much of it.
I don't. I really don't.
I do, just like I think he's the best quarterback in the league, like Jordan.
Wait a minute. This is the same person that is defending Shedeur Sanders and Dion.
About?
Dion absolutely is doing that
Sanders over
times more than the Mannings.
About that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just maybe I'm biased. I just don't. I thought they'd done their very best to keep him under the radar. I mean, you look at Archie. When Archie goes to a game, he's got a floppy hat. He's got sunglasses. He's trying to hide. It's just hard to do when you're Archie Manning. All right, he's Colin Lacy. Brent Osborne. They're set up at SEC Football Media Days. Bart Hyche, Mike Grace with you as well. When we come back, we're scheduled to talk to the voice of the Sooners, Toby Rowland, next inside the press box.
Thomas Watkins at the Billy Sim. He breaks it up the middle. He's on. Touchdown. Scoops the gambler. Say, okay, Oklahoma, here, inside the press box.
One of the most heralded traditions in college football and historic program that is the University of Oklahoma's Sooners. And we had a chance to talk about them here on day 3 of SEC Football Media Days. Head coach Brent Venables and his players will be attending the event today at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, Georgia, and we're covering it all over it here inside the press box. Mike Grace with Bart Hyche, and on site on Digital Drive there in Atlanta is our own Colin, Lacy, and Brent Osborne. And welcomed by Toby Rowland, voice of the Sooners, and is about to start his 15th season along with the OU football radio crew. Toby, Teddy, Plank, Gabe, Stats Kelly, Tom Drake, and Shep. And I got to tell you, it's one of my favorite things to do on Saturdays is find these guys on the Varsity app and listen to a little Sooner football. Toby, thanks for joining us, man. How you doing?
I'm great. It's my pleasure. I'm looking forward to seeing the Sooners on the big stage today.
And how about old number 11 there, Teddy Lehman, with a little highlight in the montage there?
Don't tell him I said this, but he's one of the all-time greats in OU history. The Butkus Award winner is our color analyst and does an outstanding job.
Well, again, I'll just ask one question and let you guys roll. Again, Brent Venables, obviously, heading into his 4th season and a big season for the Oklahoma head coach. Yes,
it is. It is. I think that the seat is warm. You know, he probably needs 8 wins at least, maybe 9 this year to make everybody feel good about the direction things are going in. It was not a good first year in the SEC, and there are circumstances. There are reasons you can point to for that. The wide receiving core was completely ravaged by injuries, as were several other pieces to the team. But nobody really cares about at the end. When you go 6-7 at OU, that's unacceptable. So he's got to win this year, and I think they've done a pretty good job of reinforcing the troops.
One of the biggest parts of this new Oklahoma team in 25 is that quarterback, John Mateer, coming in from Washington State. What have you seen from him in his short time as a Sooner?
Well, you know, the highlights of him at Washington State are strikingly similar to the way Baker Mayfield used to play. Now, that's unfair to throw on top of John Mateer before he's ever thrown a pass in a Sooner uniform. But you can't deny it. They look alike. They're similar height. They play similarly. So he may have OU fans' expectations higher than they should be just because of the Baker Mayfield expectations. But he's a gunslinger. He likes to make plays with his legs. He's brash. He did it all out on the West Coast in relative anonymity. So this is the SEC. We'll see if he can do it in this league or not. But Sooner fans are certainly excited about the potential.
What would you say is probably, I guess, like the biggest question mark coming into this year that really is going to be answered here in just a couple of weeks or in about a month or so?
I think it's got to be the offensive line. It was disappointing last year, and it was also one of the spots that was ravaged by injuries. They have fortified that. It looks like it's better. The guys that were injured are healthy. They brought in reinforcements in the portal. Bill Bedenbaugh, who has put more guys in the NFL on the offensive line than any other O-line coach in America, is excited about this crew. But Sooner fans are rightfully so a little gun shy. We'll see it. We got to see it to believe it kind of situation. If the O-line is good, I don't even say talking great. If the O-line is good, middle of the pack in the SEC, last year they were bottom of the pack. Then with Mateer and Jaden Ott and the weapons they brought in and the defense they've got, I think Oklahoma's got a chance to make some waves this year.
I'm looking, if I remember correctly, I don't have it pulled up. Auburn's a really big game for this Oklahoma team this season, right? Would that be the swing game you think that like Oklahoma fans are pointing to, like, we got to have that one at home?
It's the SEC opener. It's at home. It's the return of Jackson Arnold, who was Oklahoma's quarterback last year. So, yes, I think it is one of about 7 swing games on the schedule. Before that, they've got Michigan. If you beat Michigan, you're feeling good about yourself early in the year. If you don't, maybe not. And right after that, they've got Texas, which is always the biggest game on the schedule. But the SEC opener with the hoopla of Jackson Arnold coming back, and it's at home, that's a game that I think you got to win that one, so sure.
But I also, to just follow that point up, I was having this conversation last night with a couple of Aubs that were in a restaurant in Jackson. That's Auburn fans down here in the South.
I deciphered that. Thank you.
I know, and I'm sorry, that might be disrespectful to even say you didn't know that. Brent Venables' defense was good last year, man, especially throughout the last course of the year at times. Aren't they going to know Jackson Arnold and his skill set and have a pretty decent scout against him? I just think that's a huge advantage for Oklahoma walking into that game.
Yeah, potentially. But if I'm Jackson Arnold and I am at practice, spring ball and in the fall, and I look out and I see the wide receivers Auburn has, that looks nothing like what he had at Oklahoma last year. I look at the offensive line and the running game that he has. That looks nothing like what he has at Oklahoma. So I don't know if we have a fair barometer of what Jackson Arnold is based on how he played last year. I like the kid. I think he's got a tremendous opportunity to succeed. And what he was faced with last year was completely unfair. He had nobody to throw the ball to, and he had no time to throw the ball. And he was asked to make plays repeatedly with his legs because there was no other option. If they can block for him and they have a balanced attack, I mean, there's a reason the kid was the National Player of the Year coming out of high school. So you make a good point. I think Oklahoma does know the strengths and weaknesses of Jackson Arnold to an extent, but potentially by the time they get to that game, he's not the same Jackson Arnold we saw in Norman.
Catching up with the voice of the Oklahoma Sooners and Toby Rowland. Talk about this defense. What makes this defense so good, and what area do they feel the best about going into this season?
It's Brent Venables. You can look at every year he's ever done this, and his defenses, whether at Oklahoma back in the day, Clemson, or Oklahoma again, have been at the top of the country. It is extremely complicated. It is multiple. It is confusing. They will blitz you from everywhere on the field, and they're good at it. And he's done a good job, a really good job in this day and age of retaining players. And that's vital in this defense because you're not going to catch everything in year one. You really need guys that have been there 2 or 3 years to understand the complicated nature of this defense. I think the front seven, shockingly, in year two of the SEC, the front seven, and specifically the defensive line, might be the best in the SEC. It's certainly one of the best. Nobody thought when Oklahoma was coming into this league that their defensive line would be able to match up against the Alabamas and Georgias of the world. They have built a defensive line and a front seven that's right there with those guys. At least they need to be, and they feel like they can be. And last year they were really good, led by Armason Thomas, who will be here today. Tremendous pass rusher.
Coming into this 2025 season, is there a certain player that you would say, maybe a young player or somebody's kind of maybe getting their first start or true impact into the season? Is there anybody that you think is going to stand out in particular that's kind of under the radar that a lot of people don't know about?
I'll give you one guy on each side of the ball. Defensively, there's a youngster. He'll be a sophomore this year named Eli Bowen. As a true freshman last year at corner, he shocked them and ended up starting the second half of the season. He's not very big. He's 5'9", 5'10", which is not what you look for, but he's a tremendous football player, has incredible instincts. His brother Peyton Bowen will start at safety on this team as well. But Eli, I think, has a chance to be a star. The other guy is making his first start at OU because he transferred here is Jade Knott, the running back from Cal that so far not a lot of people around here have been talking about, but I think he's got a chance to burst onto the scene this year. Another one of those West Coast guys, though, that we'll see if he can do it in the SEC.
So I have a personal question, Toby,
Okay.
that a lot of Mississippi State fans would like to know. What's going on with the Oklahoma AD situation up there? Do I need to start looking for one?
I've run Joe Castiglione out. I'm trying to take things over there. No, Joe C is the longest tenured AD in America. He's 67 years old. He's of retirement age. I think there are some conspiracy theorists out there that feel like maybe something is going on. I think the reality of the situation, and we're very close. We talk almost daily. The reality of the situation is he wanted to get Oklahoma through the transition to the SEC. And then he's been doing this for 28 years in a highly stressful situation. The world of college athletics is changing. He's got, children and soon-to-be grandkids, and he's of retirement age, and he's made plenty of money, and it's time to kind of ride off into the sunset. He'll be a consultant, I'm sure a very highly paid one for OU or whoever else wants to bring him in. If college football at large wants to give him a bigger role, maybe he'll do that. But there's nothing fishy going on other than one of the all-time great ADs has decided that he's ready to chase sunsets and play golf.
Bart's real concern is that his Mississippi State athletic director, Zach Tillman, is going to be poached. Yeah.
He's the leading candidate, I would say.
Gotta be.
There are 33 men and women who worked under Joe Castiglione who have gone on to be athletic directors or conference commissioners. And Zach has the Selman name, and he's the most recent one, and he's very popular in Norman. So I think that he's probably got the best odds, but there are a lot of people who are speculating that maybe the traditional AD route with everything that's going on in NIL is not the way they're going to go. I don't know. If I had to make a guess today, I would say Zach is the guy, but it's less than 50% even at that, I'd say.
Well, I'd like to finish that up by saying this, whether he is or is not the guy, and there's a lot of people who are just flat out don't look at what's going on. He has been excellent for Mississippi State. He has continued to answer the bell every single day. And you know his best attribute, Toby, is just like a great attribute Jesus had. He's a great listener. And sometimes when people are listening all the time, other folks fall over themselves. I just love Zach Selman. I hope he stays, but if he comes back to Oklahoma, man, you are getting a gem.
Great guy. Love him to death. And he's got a dad and 2 uncles with a statue on campus. That's a little hard to overlook.
Dive into Brent Venables. Going into his 4th season at Oklahoma, you've seen all of it. What has that transition like for him been? He had the name, he had the pedigree as a defensive coordinator. What has it been like for him stepping back into a head coaching role and really elevating this Oklahoma team back?
I think it has been rocky. Not all of it his fault. He has had shifting sands of college football under him, a move to a new conference, and a revolving door at offensive coordinator. Jeff Levy obviously moved on after 1 year for a great reason. Last year, then he hired Seth Luttrell. That didn't work out. Had to make a change in the middle of the season. Now they've gone and got Ben Arbuckle, who looks like on paper to be a great hire. So the offensive side of the ball has been not what we're used to at OU. Defense has been pretty dadgum good, especially considering how long they've been on the field and how bad the offense has been. He has had some personal issues going on off the field. The wife has been battling cancer and everything, and they haven't won as many games as he would like. So you put all that in a bundle. New conference, NIL changing the way he likes to do things, offense not performing, revolving door at OC and everything. And it has been not what Oklahoma fans come to expect, which has led to this is year 4. We love BV. We want him to succeed. Everybody there loves Brent Venables and wants him to succeed, but you can't do it. You can't drop another 6 and 7.
There's been a lot of people around the national media side and a lot of buzz around the last couple of days that Oklahoma could be that team that takes a huge step going into 2025. We've talked about the transfers you've got coming in, especially on the offensive side. From your eyes, you've seen a lot of Oklahoma football. Going into this season, how much is the excitement in Norman?
Cautiously off the charts. Every year going in at OU, if you don't make the college football playoff, especially if there's going to be 12 teams in it or more, it's a disappointing year. They consider themselves, and I think rightfully so, one of the blue bloods of this sport. So with the infusion of Mateer and Ott, with a healthy wide receiving core, with a fortified offensive line, and a new offensive coordinator that they're very excited about, they feel like or hope they have fixed the offense. If that's true, there's really not a lot of concern that they're going to play good defense. So if they fix the offense, I think they could be a team that emerges from the SEC as a contender for a playoff spot this year. But they are gun-shy as well, Sooner fans I'm talking about, because last year was traumatic, and they want to make sure everybody stays healthy because last year it was a mash unit out there.
I just remember being a kid in Winfield, Alabama, and taping or writing Holloway on the back of a number 4 jersey and going out in my yard and running the option all afternoon in about 83. That's the glory of Oklahoma that I remember.
Sure.
I remember Jamel Holloway. I just remember the presence, the power, does it have to be a national championship? Like I know right now it's cautious optimism, what have you, but if you get to that playoff, doesn't that get that Oklahoma back where I want it?
Yeah, I mean,
And beat
Jamel
Texas.
Holloway, Brian Bosworth, Keith Jackson, the glory days of the '80s. That was. I think this year, if they get to the playoff, Oklahoma fans will say, "All right, things are moving in the right direction."
Yeah.
Ultimately, Oklahoma is not different than Alabama. It's about winning national championships.
Yeah.
They're not going to say, "Hey, we got close. Good for us." That doesn't fly at OU. But considering where they've been the last 2 or 3 years, I think this year, if they are a contender in the SEC and they make it to the playoff, Sooner fans will be pretty excited about the direction the program is going in.
Getting ready for season number 15 as the voice of the Sooners, also as News 9 sports director and KREF contributor. He is Toby Rowland on social media at TROOU, at OU Radio Crew, and you can listen online come the kickoff, Soonersports.com, and on the Varsity app. Toby, thanks so much for making time for us. Enjoy your time in Atlanta, man.
Pleasure. Thanks for letting me join you guys.
You bet. Again, Toby Rowland, outstanding work as the voice of the Sooners, getting ready again for season number 15 as the voice of Oklahoma. And gosh, he's got a fantastic. Here's one note I looked at, fellas. Brent Venables' road games in the SEC this year. He goes to South Carolina. That's October 18th. They go to Tennessee on November 1, and they go to Alabama on November 15th. For what it's worth, the Sooners are 7-13 straight up outside of Norman under head coach Venables. 7-13.
They're going to go to the playoff. They've got to win 2 of those 3 games that you just mentioned, and then they've got to beat Auburn at home. So they've got to win 3 of those 4 games with maybe a loss at Alabama. Well, they got to win at Tennessee and South Carolina and or Alabama, flip-flop one of those, right?
I would say so. The other thing I was kind of thinking of when he was talking about it too is, obviously they underperformed compared to their standards last year, especially with their first time being in the SEC. But something that I think that really stung even more was seeing how well their biggest rival, Texas, handled being in the SEC for the first season as well, and seeing how well they performed and were able to succeed and make it all the way to the playoffs and have a run and make it to the SEC championship. I think that also kind of, as an Oklahoma fan, I'm sure that stung even more seeing your rival succeed when they're on the same stage as you for the first time.
It has been an up and down tenure so far. Venables started in 2022 with a 6-7 mark, bounced back in 23 and won 10 games. Then they were back to 6-7 last year, 6-6 in their first record first year in the SEC. So again, the 10-win deal is what they're. If history holds, 10 wins probably gets them into the playoff, does it not?
I think so.
Yeah.
And especially
any SEC team in the playoff.
Yeah, a 10-win SEC team, and especially when you have to go at Alabama to Tennessee, as much as it may not look like it on paper, at South Carolina is a big one.
And then,
you get Ole Miss at home.
Yep.
You get LSU at home.
Finishing the season against LSU, who we have right now is projected to could be a very, very good top team. We'll wait and see, but I mean that could be a big game there at the end of the season.
Huge game, yeah.
I just don't want to take my guy.
I just don't want him to take Zach.
I just don't want them to ride him out on that.
I understand. All right, thanks again to Toby Rowland, voice of the Sooners. Coming up in hour 2 of the Press Box. We're just halfway through day number 3 for SEC Football Media Days. We already have interviews set up with Laura Rutledge of ESPN and the SEC Network, with Craig Way, voice of the Texas Longhorns. And we know it's Mississippi State Day. Jeff Levy, the head coach, has been roaming around Digital Drive. Maybe we'll get him. We'll just see. We'll play it by ear. Colin, Lacy, Brent Osborne on site, the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta. Bart Hyche from his Jackson, Mississippi hotel room, and yours truly, Mike Grace, in the MGL Production Studios. Glad to have you with us on great radio stations around the Southeast, online 24/7 at PressBoxRadio.com, and again, streaming live video on the new YouTube page. It's youtube.com/PressBoxRadio. Find us there and stick around for hour 2 of the Press Box.
We want to win. Well, it's Saturday night.
Whoa. SEC Football Media Days, and Nick Saban is nowhere to be found. Thank you very much. How can that be? They're come on, Nick Saban not a part of SEC Network and ESPN's coverage of SEC Football Media Days? It is true, y'all. Hour 2 of the press box, rolling with Mike Grace, Bart Hyche in studio, and our friends Colin, Lacy, and Brent Osborne on site. Collins Football Hall of Fame, a digital drive on the second floor of the Hall of Fame there in Atlanta, Georgia, where they're hanging out for College Football Media Days, SEC Football Media Days. Day 3. Later in the day, you've got Alabama, you got Mississippi State, you got Florida, and you got Oklahoma. And the guys have been talking to folks throughout. And while they don't have Nick Saban, they do have Laura Rutledge, y'all. So
I'll take the trade.
Yep.
I think, I think we're still winners. I do.
Colin Lacy does not have Bart Hyche today. He does have Dr. Pepper.
He does have Dr. Pepper.
Every time we go to a break, one of those things
is gone. He's hammering him back, baby. He's hammering him back.
4.5. Try 14.
We're trying to be flexible today because Mississippi State guys are roaming around. We may have head coach Jeff Levy at any moment. But we did interview, the guys did have a chance to sit down with Laura Rutledge yesterday. And so, Colin, what do you say? We go ahead and check out your interview with Laura from yesterday?
Sounds like a plan. She was, I think I texted y'all yesterday that may be one of my favorite interviews that I've done, because as much as you hear the same questions over and over around this little horseshoe, well, I guess it's a square. Shapes were not my strong suit, but you hear the same questions. What's your expectations? What is it? And so when Laura Rutledge, you could tell she had gone through the car wash already.
She's over it. She was over it.
And she was great. Like, one of the most genuine people to be able to talk to. But, like, one thing you and I talked about, we got into a little bit more of the personal side. Who is Laura Rutledge? Like, you see her on TV every day between NFL Live and SEC Now, but get to know who these people are.
Yeah, I mean, she was probably one of the nicest people we've talked to since we've been here. She was great. Obviously, does a really good job there on ESPN, and you know, she was awesome, and you guys will hear that in the interview as well.
She likes that Florida orange. She don't like it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, and with Brent being a Georgia guy,
that kind of got brought up just a little bit towards the end. But yeah, I mean, other than her being a Gator, it's just one of those things that, you know, we can get past that.
She is a product of the University of Florida Journalism School, which is a fantastic one. It has produced Aaron Andrews and tons of other folks. I also know that I think she started when she left Florida. I think she started with, like, CNN was still doing some sports stuff at the time, something like that. But she's been with ESPN and the SEC Network for a while. Obviously, SEC Network, I think, is where we first started or saw her hosting SEC Nation. But now NFL Live as well, guys. That they use her, and she does a fantastic job. Of course, her daughter Reese is famous for her picks, which I think you guys addressed a little bit. They've got a new one, Jack, who I think is about 2 years old, her and her husband, Josh. And again, you can follow her on X at Laura Rutledge. And why don't we hear the guys talking to ESPN and the SEC Network's Laura Rutledge here inside the press box.
Catching up with Laura Rutledge from ESPN here at SEC Media Days. And before we get deep into the minutia of what the SEC and college football is, we talked about it earlier on this week, that the thing that impresses me so much about you, you're able to go from college to NFL every week, and it's seamless and one of the best to do it. What is that like for you, having to – it's the same game technically on the field, but it's so different of how you have to cover it, how you have to do it. What is that like for you week in and week out?
First of all, thank you. That's so kind of you to say. I feel like every week I'm beating myself up trying to be like, make sure that you know every single thing and going over it and over and over it. And the thing about the NFL is doing it every day, it's second nature. We're talking about a lot of the same teams. I shouldn't say that, because NFL Live, we do cover pretty much all of the teams in the NFL. But we're talking about a lot of the same players. There's not as much changeover as you see in college now. In college, it's totally different. I start throughout the year. I mean, I'm just a college football fan, so I'm keeping track of what's going on. But even in preparation for this event or when we get into the actual season, I'm double, triple checking rosters. Like, let me make sure okay, this guy's here now, and and I think a fan can relate to that because a lot of fans are like, well, golly, when did that guy end up on this team? You know, and the sport's changed in such a way, but I find too that what happens is a lot of these guys, especially in the SEC, they end up in the NFL. So it's an incredible frame of reference. And I spend a lot of time looking back and saying, well, when we covered Tua Tagovailoa at Alabama, this happened, and Jalen Hurts. And there are so many examples of that. I mean, this year's draft class, there's so many SEC players that I was fortunate enough to cover and talk about that it's fun to bring them into the NFL as well and to have that crossover. So, but at the end of the day, I'm just really thankful to get to do it. I always remind myself of that if I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. I'm like, you know, you're so lucky to do this, and there's so many people that would love to have this job. So I try to look at all of it through a lens of gratitude.
Kind of change pace a little bit, some different questions than what you've gotten probably all day. But, you know, me and Colin are both family people. I've got a 4-year-old girl that just turned 4 2 days ago. So happy late birthday, Carson.
Carson, happy birthday.
And then a two-month-old boy, and Colin kind of did the opposite. He's got a little boy and then a fresh new baby girl.
How old?
2 months. A little
wow,
over 2 months.
you guys,
Yeah, so
you guys are in the thick of it right now.
very much
Y'all's
so.
wives are saints.
Thanks to our wives.
No doubt.
Shout out to the wives.
Yes, absolutely. So my question is, obviously, your big social media presence, and I know you're very involved family-wise and with Reese with the helmet picks and all that kind of stuff. So what's it like to be able to involve her with kind of your job on a day-to-day basis?
It's a blessing. I mean, there was a large portion of like the early part of my career where I didn't think it was possible to have kids and do this. I just couldn't see it. It wasn't that anybody told me it wasn't possible. I just had a hard time envisioning that, and I definitely didn't think it'd be possible to have two. So I feel it's such a blessing. I say thank you prayers every day for these children and that we're able to make it work. My husband is a saint. Josh is the best. But aside from that, you know, I think it's been really neat seeing Reese just develop a passion for this. And the way that the helmet picks started is actually so funny. Not a lot of people know this story, but back in the pandemic in 2020, we didn't travel the show. And so we were doing everything remote, and she wasn't a year old yet when that season started. We were trying to think of something funny and different to do because we were all going to be at home. So we had this idea of like babies versus dogs, but no one else really had a baby except me. So we were trying to get Tebow to do his dogs, and Jordan, Rogers, they have dogs, and then the dogs never did anything. So we were like, all right, well, we'll let Reese do something. So we would actually, my husband would wake her up from a nap and FaceTime into the show live. And she was doing those picks live. And I look back on it now and I'm like, that was so dangerous and dicey. Like she could have just done any old thing, but she knew what to do, and she would always pick, and her record was insane. And so that was how it got started. And then obviously it's grown into what it's become. But you know, it's always funny every year. We haven't asked her yet, but we ask her every year if she wants to do it. It's always her decision. So it'll be interesting to see if she still wants to. But she loves football, and that's just been fun to share that passion with her.
We've talked about it all week. This event in the SEC Media Days and really Media Days across college football is kind of the last benchmark that the offseason is coming to an end. When you get into late August, when football starts ramping up, what's the biggest question you have between now and then in this SEC?
Ooh, that's a great one. I think my biggest question, and today's going to be interesting because we'll see Tennessee, is what are they going to be? You know, they were a team with Nico Iamaleava and what it looked like that we're all thinking, hey, they're right back in the playoff. They're potentially contending for a national championship. And I'm not even saying that in the sense that, like, Iamaleava was that good, because I think if you really look at the numbers, there was a lot left to be desired there, but yet you thought he's going to make a jump into his sophomore year, all that. And now you say, man, like, what are they going to be, you know? And it honestly is a bit of a shame to me because I was so excited for them. Maybe I'll be wrong and they're going to be a lot better than we're expecting, but you've seen the odds drop, you know, a ton to where they're not as favored. So that's a big question mark for me. And then also just the Alabama quarterback situation. How many years have we said that, right? But I think Ty Simpson is in pole position to win that job, but maybe not, and they've got other talent, and I think they're going to be a little better than people are talking about. So I'm excited to see that with Ryan Grubb back there in Tuscaloosa, back reunited with Kalen DeBoer. They should be a lot better. So those are kind of my two big questions. But man, it makes me, I could think of so many more. It makes me really excited for the season. I think it's going to be a remarkable SEC season.
So going into the season, what is probably a place or maybe a game in particular? I know it's kind of up in the air where you guys go, but
Yeah.
what's probably like your favorite place that you like to visit?
Oh my
I'm a
goodness.
dog fan, so you can't say
Yes.
Florida because I know you're a Gator.
Okay, so I won't pick Florida because I've been there so much that it's
Yes.
like it's not as notable for me. Honorable mention, this is not my answer, but honorable mention is Austin because we
Okay.
did get to do that last year a couple times. We ended up there during the regular season, and then we also ended up there in the postseason when Texas hosted Clemson. And it's just cool. Like it's a really neat city. I would recommend to fans who haven't visited yet, like pick a Texas game if you're looking for one to go on the road and see. But my answer is LSU just because Baton Rouge is always crazy, but I think this year, especially with the expectations, which are earned, right? This roster looks excellent. You get Nussmeier back. Brian Kelly has made some adjustments at some areas. They're changing up the defense just a little bit once again. Harold Perkins is back. Whit Weeks is incredible. I think they're a contender for the national championship. So when that happens, LSU fans like ratchet it up just one more notch or maybe a few more notches, and it makes Baton Rouge so much fun. It's such a great place to be. And Nation will be there at some point. I'm just not exactly sure when.
Yep.
Laura, really appreciate you stopping by. I know today is busy with having to go around Digital Drive and then also your regular
Digital
job, but
Drive. Love
appreciate
it.
you taking time with us.
I love it, you guys. Thanks so much for having me. And best of luck being great dads. And really best of luck to your wives and the mamas because
Yes.
they're the rock stars.
She is sharp as a tack. Laura Rutledge visiting with our guys, Colin, Lacy, and Brent Osborne at SEC Football Media Days. That conversation took place yesterday. She mentioned Alabama and Ryan Grubb, and I think that is a huge change for this Crimson Tide team this year. They'll get the offensive coordinator that Kalen DeBoer thought he was going to have in year one at Alabama. And what was it, the Seahawks that kind of poached him last year for one season in the NFL? He's done with that. He is back in Tuscaloosa with Kalen DeBoer, who, by the way, is at the podium right now at SEC Football Media Days. We could listen in if we wanted to. But either way, your thoughts, guys, on Ryan Grubb and the difference that he's going to make with that Alabama offense this year.
I think it's going to be a big change. And I think it's one that's going to work out. I think it's the one that's going to work out the way it needs to. And the part that I think people overlook, Nick Sheridan is still on staff at Alabama. He's the quarterback's coach and technically the co-offensive coordinator. So you've got two guys on that staff that have been offensive coordinators in the SEC. And while Nick Sheridan was up and down last year, we'll say, I think it's still beneficial to have two offensive coordinators because at some point somebody thought that he was going to be a really good offensive coordinator for some reason or another. And I'm not saying he wasn't. I'm just saying the thought is there that he is a really good offensive mind. You pair him with somebody that Kalen DeBoer knows very well, that has had success with at Washington, and I know a completely different playing field, but that's a Washington team that got to the playoff and the national championship game. But when you look at it, having that consistency there, but also having two essentially offensive coordinators on there, I think makes a huge difference for this Alabama team.
They got to run the football.
Yes.
I mean, in any sense of, and that's, I have a family member that's on this team, and
At the reunion the other day.
And he actually, it was a really cool setting. My little cousin, Max Smith, gave his glove, a pair of game gloves to my other cousins, one of their kids, and just watching that kid's face light up, the Alabama football, aura, mystique, whatever. It's kind of lost a little luster pretty quick over the. We're not talking about Alabama, guys. We're not. In the senses, obviously, there's the go, but I'm just telling you, man. I think Alabama is going to go back to Alabama. I think Kellen DeBoer is going to run the football a lot. I really, really, really do. Because just like even at Washington, when he did that, just like Lane Kiffin, these high-powered, quick-tempo offenses have to have timely running games and big third-down runs when you can really get yardage in the trenches. But Alabama has to win the offense and defensive line if they're going to go back to being Alabama.
One question for Bama this year, and it involves the quarterback. We know Ty Simpson, as Laura said, is in the pole position. Love that she used the racing analogy there. Pole position for the quarterback job. If I were to say that Bama's quarterback situation this year is better than it was last year, or you're going to scoff at me. Look, when Jalen Milroe was talented and freakishly so, and was capable of doing some incredible things and making some incredible plays. But he was also as inconsistent as they come and capable of being awful at times, okay? Missing wide open guys and other things. So that's my question. Could Bama get better quarterback play from Ty Simpson this year than they got from Jalen Milroe a year ago?
Basically, what you're saying is, do you want the game manager mode versus the
playmaker mode? Yeah.
Good question. What do you think, Steve?
I think you can get.
I'll take Milroe.
I think you can get more consistency out of Ty Simpson, and you won't have the high end of Jalen Milroe, but I think you don't have the peaks and valleys of Milroe that you had at times.
Well, the other thing was they didn't run the ball last year.
No.
Right. If you're getting 3 yards a clip, like Lane Kiffin said, you ain't ever gonna come off the field and punt. That's just a fact, man. And I back to basics, in Alabama, I think. I just, again, I think they're going to be okay, but look at the schedule. Some of these schedules are outrageous. Alabama's schedule is not anything that like when Alabama fans look at that schedule, when's the last time they looked at a schedule that was anywhere close to that? There's 4 losses all over that schedule if you don't come out and start dominating the line of scrimmage physically.
Well, and I think the other interesting thing is going to be is, I agree they're going to have to run the football, but the other thing they're going to run into is that with Ryan Williams, arguably one of, if not the best wide receiver in the country, teams know about him now. He's not a secret. So, so I think that's going to be a huge factor as well. Is they're going to have to run the football because teams are going to be double covering him, and if they don't, then they're dumb.
Do they use him, Brent? You're a football coach. Do they use him as they kind of did Devontae Smith in that backfield type swing pass, a lot of motion, creating matchups type deal to cheat the run game and put him in open space?
I think that's what they're going to have to do. I think they're going to have to get – I mean, when you've got an athlete like that, you're finding any way to get the ball to him. And I think that's what they're going to have to do is, like you said, do some swing routes, which are essentially, now in today's age, swing routes or flat routes or whatever it may be, those are essentially just outside runs.
It's the old 28. It's the old 28 and 29 sweep.
That's right. Yeah.
That's essentially all it is. And so I see them kind of using that a little bit more. But he's also just with his speed and his – ability to catch the ball down the field, Simpson's going to have to throw some deep balls to him as well, and I think that's going to be the key is how well he can do that.
Twins left, 28 sweep on two.
I used to call that back in the day. I was a little league quarterback. We would run 28 and 29.
18 Roger.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That is Bart Hyche, former Mississippi State basketball stud, a current stud here inside the press box. Our buddies Colin, Lacy, Brent, Osborne on site at SEC Football Media Days in Atlanta. Mike Grace in the MGL production studios, just getting rolling. Still got other goodies coming your way, including Craig Way, voice of the Texas Longhorns. That and more when the press box continues after a quick timeout.
Tell it like it is.
Tim Brando, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not that the league is no longer really, really good. It still is. And it's got the most championships. And year in and year out, Southeastern Conference football will be the dominant conference, but it's not dominant now. Okay, it's not.
This is the press box.
Our buddy Timmy B, Tim Brando, talking about SEC football. And of course, we know SEC Football Media Days 2025 going on this week at the Collins Football Hall of Fame, downtown Atlanta, Georgia. The press box all over it, courtesy of our own Colin, Lacy, and Brent Osborne, with Bart Hyche and Mike Grace hanging out as well. Later in the hour, Craig Way, voice of the Texas Longhorns, will join us, about to kick off season number 25 as voice of the Longhorns. We'll hear from him in a matter of moments. But guys, what about the statement from Timmy B? Does that change this year, or does the Big Ten win a third straight national championship? What do you think?
I don't see how they do. I think SEC is just getting better and better every year, which sounds crazy because it's been the dominant conference for what? We go in a decade? We hit a decade yet? But I mean, it's crazy. It keeps getting better every year. It keeps getting deeper every year. Because I mean, we're talking to teams that I was going through my preseason vote and everything yesterday, and I've got teams in the 10th, 11th, 12th spot in my rankings that are really dang good teams. And so, I mean, it's crazy to say, but I think the SEC keeps getting better each and every year by leaps and bounds. It's not marginal. And then you're able to do a lot more, and I think it's going to turn into where it's just the SEC. And the Big Ten is so top-heavy, it's unbelievable. And so while the
He's
top of it,
on my Gophers
yeah, I'm out on all that.
and Illinois.
I can get on board a lot more with Illinois than I can Minnesota. But the Big Ten is so top-heavy that I just think the SEC is getting to be where nobody's competing.
And to your, it's an odds thing, right? What are the odds? I mean, you're talking about if there's 10 teams that might win the national championship preseason, how many of those teams are you going to put SEC in there? 5?
Yeah.
LSU, Georgia, Texas. Those 3 would be my. I mean, who else would you put in there though?
I
Like,
mean,
seriously. Oh, I mean, K-A-M, Oklahoma, Albs. No.
This is what I find interesting in looking at our buddy Phil Steele's projections and preseason top 25. I go back to the SEC winning 3 straight from 19, 20 to 21 with 3 different teams. LSU, Alabama, and Georgia went back to back to back to bring the championship back to the SEC again in 2019, 2020, 2021. We know Georgia went back to back, won it in 22, but the last 2 years, Michigan in 23, Ohio State in 24. And if we follow Phil Steele, he's got Penn State as his number 1 team. Could the Big Ten go 3 for 3 with 3 different teams?
I just don't see more than, I don't know, man. I think, Tim, yeah. I mean, it's all right. You're taking the SEC, Brent, right, over the Big Ten?
I mean, I'd say yes, but just because, I mean, the issue that you run into, and it's the issue that we kind of were running into last year as just an SEC fan in general, is the problem is there's so many good teams in the SEC and they're just beating up on each other. And that's the problem, is that, you know, what's nice about the Big Ten is because they're so top heavy, those teams are beating all of the lower level teams that they should be beating and that kind of stuff. And they're not really beating up or getting a loss or getting a blemish on their record. Whereas SEC teams, I mean, you're playing any of those top teams, LSU, Texas, Georgia, even Alabama, any of those, they're playing each other week in and week out. And so, I mean, one of them's got to lose. And so that's the kind of frustrating part is it's like they're beating up on each other.
Cannibalization, yeah, of yourself.
But I do see, I mean, I think, like Colin's point earlier, is I think that especially going into this year, I think the SEC is probably stronger than they have been, just as far as a bunch of really good teams. I mean, think about it. South Carolina, the last couple of years, has not been like a dominant SEC team. And I don't know that they're dominant just yet, but they are one that they're right there on the cusp. I mean, last year they were they were in talks of they should have made the playoff. And so again, and they're not, I wouldn't consider South Carolina as of right now a top SEC team, but they have the potential to be, and they're one of those breakout teams that you don't know what you're going to get from them.
To me, the relationship between the Big Ten and the SEC is kind of surmised in Indiana and Ole Miss. We've talked a lot. You have talked a lot, Bart, about how
I
the
love
schedule.
that you just put those two football programs in the same.
I know, and you're gonna love this even more.
That, Mike.
Yeah,
but you put Ole Miss's schedule. We talked about is a light SEC schedule, but you look at it, the light parts of the Ole Miss schedule are the Missouris, the Kentucky. Well, I guess not Kentucky, but it's teams that are. It's not the Indiana schedule. Everybody talked the knock on Indiana last year was that they didn't play anybody. It's the same argument for both teams, but the level of a light schedule versus a light schedule is so vastly different. It's unbelievable.
So I'm going to ask this question to Brent's point. And this is one of the differences in playing college basketball and college football or fans, how they view those two sports. Brent's point is exactly right that if you go through a football season and you play the LSUs, the Texas, the A&Ms, the Oklahomas, with a physical defense, whoever it is, you're going to come out of those games beat up. You're going to come and it's going to test you. It's going to test you. But the way it's set up, you might not be able to withstand all that when you reach your peak at 9-3. If you've lost the wrong games at the end of the season, you could be physically just scarred and worn. In basketball, just like Florida and Auburn going through the gauntlet and getting to the Final Four, win the national championship. In basketball, I think those battles help you a lot more, and it doesn't hurt you as much as football. Is that a fair point?
Yeah, I absolutely think so. Because I mean,
physicality to me.
And it's only, and I mean, no matter what sport you're playing, the better competition you're playing, it's making you a better team. There's no doubt about that. But like you said, it is kind of beating you up as well. And I mean, you got to think about it. And I mean, obviously Georgia in particular, they had that crazy SEC championship game against Texas that went into overtime, was just a dang knockout, drag out. And then they had to turn around and play Notre Dame in a playoff game, who again, I know they played a game before and all that kind of stuff, but I mean, that was no easy game either. I mean, that was a lot of back and forth and just smash mouth football, and I mean, it's just very, very physical football. But when you get to the playoffs, that's how it's going to be no matter what.
64 or 68, however many spots there are in basketball now. 14 of those were for the SEC, right? There's only 4 spots in football, man. And that's why this is just so the numbers are smaller, and it's going to be interesting to see. It goes back to the point: is there an SEC team that's going to be good enough to separate themselves from not only anybody in the country but from this league? I think there'll be one team that goes undefeated. I'm going LSU, but I feel like one team somehow.
I find this interesting.
I think LSU is that team. I don't think they can go undefeated, not with the schedule they have.
No.
And that's an extremely valid point because it's brutal.
Bill Steele's 2025 Power Poll. Let's take his top 12. There are 3 Big 12 teams there. He's got Big 10 teams, pardon me. Penn State at 1, Ohio State at 5, Michigan at 12. He's got Notre Dame number 2, and then everybody else in the top 12 is SEC. Texas at 3, Bama at 4. I take that back. ACC's Clemson at 6, but Georgia at 7, Oklahoma 8, Texas A&M 9, Florida 10, LSU 11. Would that be? Could we have some fun working those 12 into a playoff bracket?
Jeez.
Well, and you also got to think too. Looking at LSU's schedule, don't get me wrong. I think that, like we've heard all week and the last couple of weeks, this is the best thing that they've had for them. But their schedule, they don't have a Texas or a Georgia on their schedule, so I do think that they kind of lucked out with that.
Great point. Back with more from SEC Football Media Days inside the press box after this. on in Atlanta, Georgia. Colin's Football Hall of Fame second floor digital drive is where our own Colin, Lacy, and Brent Osborne have been set up all week. They'll stay today and tomorrow as well, with Bart Hyche and Mike Grace hanging out in studio. Today's lineup at day 3 of SEC Football Media Days. Colin DeBoer of Alabama just wrapped up his time at the main podium. He'll continue to kind of cruise around and hit the other spots as well. Alabama also brought the offensive lineman Caden Proctor, linebacker Deontay Lawson, and defensive lineman Tim Keenan III. Mississippi State is up next. Jeff Lebby will address the main room in a little bit. Plus Blake Shapen, the quarterback, DB Isaac Smith, and wide receiver Brennan Thompson, who you guys spoke to early this morning. Colin, Lacy had a chance to talk to the young man, and I gather you were impressed.
Yeah, he's an impressive guy. And I think the thing that you take away, and he said it probably 3 or 4 times in our interview, of the only focus of Mississippi State football right now is going 1-0. 1-0 each week. That's and I know there's a lot of teams that say that, but I don't know what it was. There's something about everything.
Colin, now.
Do what now?
Love you, and you're trying to get me excited about something.
I'm just telling you, there's something. Every team in the country says, "Oh, we need to go 1-0." That's the press conference. Like, you could record it and play.
We dang sure need to go 1-0.
But just talking to him, the mentality, and Bart, you'll appreciate whenever we get the interview up a little bit later on. I asked him because I've heard from y'all. I have not been to Starkville, but I've heard from y'all the difference of the feel, the community around it. And whenever I ask them the question, and I love that we're doing the video side now, because you can see his face light up whenever you ask him about Starkville. You can see it light up whenever you ask him about Jeff Lebby, because this is the guy that he came and decided to come and play college football for. And for somebody that hasn't necessarily done it, that's a huge part of these guys, of what they're doing. They're going to play for a coach. A lot of them are going to play for a school, but the coach is a huge part of what they are trying to do.
Bart mentions the state needs to go 1-0. You better believe it, because they open on the road at Southern Miss, a Sun Belt team that has been struggling in years past. They've got a new head coach. They got a ton of new transfers as well. The guy from Marshall came in and brought a bunch of guys with him. And this is in Hattiesburg on the road, the start of year 2 for Jeff Lebby, and they really do need to win that game. They don't need to lose to Southern Miss.
I went down there whenever the last time was we played them.
I think it was 2 years ago. Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't the most comfortable. State pulled away at the end, a couple of big plays, but the rock off Hardy Street can get folks. It's been getting folks for years, and this is not a game that Jeff Lebby can lose. This is not a game that you need to go in and just barely win the game either. But this Southern team is good. Yeah. I mean, I don't care what conference you're coming to. It's probably a lateral move conference-wise, maybe even a step down conference-wise, possibly. I don't know. That's just based on past years. But when you bring that kind of core to any kind of football team with a leader that they believe in, you going to move all these kids from Ohio to Mississippi? That's a buy-in is what that is. And so I'm nervous, Mike.
Well, again, we know it's year 2 for
Mike.
Yeah.
Are you nervous? Is a State fan or somewhat of one?
Well, I think this is my real problem, man. I have zero expectations for this team. I mean, I don't know what to expect. I pray that it's not another 2-10. I mean, that's what last year was, including a home loss to Toledo. We know they lost Blake Shapen, the quarterback, in week 4. That certainly hurt. But this is a team that ended up winless in league play. And the big reason why, they allowed 34.1 points per game in SEC play, the most poorest defense in the SEC a year ago. We talk about Jeff Lebby and his offensive prowess. It's this defense that has to get better for State to win some games.
One of the worst defenses in the history of the SEC last year.
It was bad.
I think that's why a lot of people still not really in on it. A lot of people wanted the DC gone, including Bo Bounds, prominent sportscaster here on
part of our crew down at ESPN 105.9 The Zone in Jackson.
Dinner with him last night.
Yeah.
And them poor people next to us hearing me and him yell at each other about stuff. I mean, that's how Bo and I have always been. I love it when people can disagree.
Yeah.
and like still, I'm like not heated, but
Right. Yeah.
he thinks that our university should have a bigger focus on football than I do. And I've been very transparent about that I don't think the state's ever going to be able to compete year in, year out at the level you have to compete in. What does that mean? I have no idea.
But I got to tell you, I've been going through all week, pulling highlights from all the SEC teams to build some new creative stuff, our little rejoins that you hear when we come out of commercial breaks. And I went back, and I'm telling you guys, I watched a ton of Dak Prescott highlights, okay? And I still go back and say, when Dan Mullen had the team and the program number 1 in the country in the very first college football playoff poll, I mean, that is the peak of Mississippi State football in the history of Mississippi State football, and we kicked that guy out of town.
I don't know about that.
Oh, we did. We kicked him out of town. We did.
Huh?
We made it real easy for him to take Florida's offer. That's what I'm saying. We made it real easy for him to take Florida's offer.
I'm not saying that. I don't think we kicked him out of town. I don't think that's because he was trying to get out of town for 4 years. Fact.
And that may be the case, but I don't know that I just felt like, and again, this is just me. The state fans were on him before he left, and I'm like, really, you guys think we can do better than Dan Mullen?
I would say yes, there were some, because when you get that taste of number 1, it makes you elevate yourself to maybe what you might not be. At the same time, I think there were so many fans that were so tired of him going and shopping for jobs every single year. I think that was a big thing that a lot of state's a weird fan base when it comes to football. When you hadn't had a lot of success in things, and like he did, I would have no issue. I love Jeff Lebby. I want him to succeed. But like if Dan Mullen wins 1 year at UNLV, would a lot of state fans want him back? Would you hire him back if he goes to UNLV and wins in 1 year and state goes 2-10 and is looking for a coach?
I'd take him back today, regardless of what he does at UNLV.
Me too.
And look, I want Jeff Lebby to be successful, but just like Dan Mullen brought that program to their peak, I'm sorry, but last year may have been this program's low point in the history of the program as well.
Tech and 10 was a bad year. The Croom.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But I maybe it's because I didn't grow up a state fan. I just don't know why so many I'm not talking about you, Mike, but it's in general. State fans have got to realize that we are a stepping stone SEC place. Our destination is not the destination that a lot of people, unless it's baseball like O'Connor,
right? Yeah.
Come and retire in Starkville. How many times have Strickland's gone on to Florida, Burns gone on to Alabama? Burns going to go down as the greatest athletic director in the history of ADs. He literally, his resume, what he's built, where their programs are, football, basketball, baseball right now.
Yeah,
it's basketball, phenomenal. But this is just who we are. Like when somebody gets the job at state, do you think Jeff Lebby got this job and thought he was going to be there? No. So your point, yes, is valid. That I don't think we ran him out of town, but I do feel like we could have done more to help him stay, if that's a fair assessment.
I was just struck, as I say, and again, I haven't lived in the state of Mississippi in a while, but I still have relatives there, and we go back on occasion. I just remember at the time, that last year or so of Dan Mullen, my state fans in the family were ready to get rid of him. And I was like, I didn't understand what your problem with this guy is.
Kind of like me with Selman right now.
I didn't understand it. Besides Mississippi State today, Billy Napier of Florida will appear at SEC Football Media Days, along with quarterback DJ Lagway, offensive lineman Jake Slaughter, and defensive lineman Caleb Banks. And the afternoon finishes up Brent Venables, quarterback John Mateer, DB Robert Spears Jennings, and defensive lineman Mason Thomas from Oklahoma. The other newbie in the SEC is the Texas Longhorns, and earlier this week, our friends Colin, Lacy, and Brent Osborne had a chance to hook up with the voice of the Texas Longhorns, about to begin his 25th season as voice of the Horns. He's hosted the Craig Way Show weekday afternoons from 2 to 5 on AM 1300 The Zone, the official flagship station of Texas Athletics in Austin, Texas. He is Craig Way, voice of the Longhorns, visiting with us inside the press box.
Getting up with Craig Way, the voice of the Texas Longhorns, and I know the last 12, 15 months has been a little crazy around Austin. Joining the SEC last year, What was that first trek through the SEC, not just with football, but with every sport? What was it like around there?
Yeah, it's a great question, Colin. And I think what, from a football perspective, last year's first year did for Texas was to give them an opportunity to do a couple of things. One, that whole question about is Texas SEC ready? There was that. And by the way, I'm perfectly fine with that question because what it did was it supplanted a lot of the is Texas back? Texas is back stuff. I mean, the Longhorn football program is still paying for the sins of Joe Tessitore, who uttered that, when they had that double overtime win over Notre Dame. But anyway, it gave them a chance to answer the question about are they SEC ready, and they proved that they were. But even more so, I think it gave fans not only in the SEC but across the country, and certainly Longhorn fans, a chance to see all the work that Sark and the staff had put in to build the depth, quality depth, to add his co-offensive coordinator, the offensive line coach Kyle Flood likes to refer to as big humans, adding the big humans on the offensive line and the defensive line. I think it's a very, very big thing. And I think it gave them a chance to do that. The other sports, I think, kind of fed off of it. Basketball, men's basketball took a little bit of a step back. Obviously, they got into the NCAA tournament but lost in the first four. But now they've made the coaching change. There's a lot of excitement about what Sean Miller may be able to do. And in addition to broadcasting the football and men's basketball, also do the women's basketball. And Vic Schaefer has done a tremendous job there and got them to the Final Four last year. And they shared the SEC regular season title with South Carolina. And baseball in their first year wins the SEC regular season. Had they not lost their number one starter and their number three starter and a reliever to injury 3/4 of the way through the year, they might have had a chance to go deeper than just the regional round. So there's a great, and then softball wins the national championship. So there was a lot of excitement around that first year. And I would say it leads to a lot of anticipation and, yes, expectation for the next year.
Yeah, so leading into more of a football aspect and moving into the SEC, of course, the goal is always to win a national championship, and no matter what division you're in or whatever. And so my question is with coming up a little bit short of that, do you feel like Texas feels like they kind of reached what their goal was last year with their first year being in the SEC, of making the SEC championship and playing for a championship? Again, coming up just short of making it to the national championship, but still proving themselves to be ready, like we say, for the SEC.
Some goals were realized, Brent. Some were, and those were to show how nationally competitive they could be, to go to an Ann Arbor and beat Michigan, to be really, really good on the road. But there were other goals they didn't reach. They lost twice to Georgia, clearly, at home in a game where they really were just outplayed and outmuscled in about every sense of the word. But here in Atlanta, they take Georgia in overtime and had an opportunity, several opportunities to win the game, didn't do it. And then, of course, came back here, and there was another goal realized a couple of weeks later after they had gone into the playoff and won a home playoff game. That's the first time that Texas had won a playoff game, because the year before it was only a 14 field, and they got to the semifinals before losing to Washington. So they won a playoff game, came back here, won that massive double overtime thriller with Arizona State. Again, more goals realized, but the job wasn't finished, and losing to Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl proved that as well. So there was meat left on the bone. There were things out there they still wanted to accomplish, even though by and large they were pleased with a lot of what they did.
Whenever everybody talks about Texas football, especially going into this season, the first thing that seems to come up is Arch Manning and what he is going to be coming up this season. You saw flashes of him last year, but we talked about it a little bit earlier this week. A lot of times when he came into a ball game, you felt like you knew what was going to happen. He was going to be running the football. What does that look like in your estimation, and how overblown is the Arch Manning talk nationally as opposed to what it is in Austin?
Well, first of all, to your first part, the work that he has put in has been impressive to see what he does in terms of command of the offense. Yes, his mobility is a big part of it, but also he has a strong arm and can throw the ball well also. So I think all of that needs to be taken into account. The fact that he's handled everything so well, I think, is important. It is interesting. You bring up how overblown things are in terms of the expectation. Well, it didn't just start last year, and it certainly didn't just start this year. I was upstairs a few minutes ago doing an interview with Arch. And when I got done, and I was talking also to Michael Taff and Anthony Hill, who were here with the Longhorns, who walks into the room to say hi to him but David Cutcliffe? And, of course, Coach Cut had coached Eli at Ole Miss, and he coached at Duke, and he was Peyton's offensive coordinator at Tennessee, and is just a well-respected football mind and a great coach, and now is on the SEC staff. And, of course, he was Eli's college coach. So he told the story that he was still the coach at Ole Miss when Arch was born. And on the morning that Arch was born, Coach Cutcliffe sent a courier with a letter of intent over to the hospital. So the expectation has been there for a while for Arch. So I think he's excited and looking forward. I asked each of those guys what they're looking forward to most once this season gets underway. And one of the things he said was, I'm looking forward to be able to run with the ones on offense.
Yep.
And so I think he's looking forward to that challenge.
Was there a certain area that you would say for Texas last year that kind of maybe underperformed a little bit throughout the season, and you're kind of maybe a question mark going into this season and how they're going to do?
Well, I know they weren't entirely happy with the kicking game, either kicking or punting. Bert Auburn made a lot of big kicks for Texas. He hit 4 out of 6 in the SEC championship game. But he missed 2 out of 3, obviously, in that Peach Bowl. Some important ones there. He left. Wish him well. Hope it goes well for him down in Coral Gables. The fact that they have the transfers in, they do have, and Sark pointed this out when I was visiting with him a few minutes ago. He likes the fact they have a senior kicker, a senior punter, a senior holder, and a senior snapper. So they have addressed that. They have a good return game, but they weren't entirely happy with the kicking game. And there's questions, obviously, with the offensive line being relatively new, even though guys got a lot of reps who will be starters. And then in the secondary, there'll be some young faces. There'll be some veterans like Michael Taff, obviously. And Manny Muhammad wasn't listed as a starter that much last year, but he played an awful lot. So there's some new guys to go with the old.
Whenever you look at the offensive side for Texas, I think a part that gets overlooked across the board is that running back room and how good they were at times, especially last year. You look at Wisner, and Baxter even came into his own, especially late in the season. What is it about that side of the ball that Sark feels really good about?
Yeah, the fact that he's got some healthy guys, and Trey Wisner made it all the way through. He was banged up a little bit. Jaden Blue gave them so much last year, and the Dallas Cowboys obviously noticed that for them to go after Blue. And C.J. Baxter, his freshman year was so exciting, and so there was so much excitement about it before he had the injury that took him out for the whole year. But he's back, and Christian Clark is another guy who can step in there and do it. So they're excited about what they have in the backfield there. Hopefully, if Baxter is able to have a full recovery and go full out, then I think they have high hopes for him. There was another thing Sark told me when I asked him about health. He said there's only 1 or 2 guys that could be a lot slower on the path back in fall camp workouts. Just about everybody else. He said, now, we would be crazy to say, C.J. Baxter, go out there and just blast away right from the first day of camp. It's going to be a process, but he does like what he has with him there.
Yeah, I want to touch on, you were talking about the offensive line a little bit, kind of a question mark on that. And that's one thing I think that a lot of people probably noticed in the games that there weren't very many, but in the games that Texas did struggle in a little bit last year was pass protection, that kind of stuff, obviously against Georgia, which I know a lot of people struggled with Georgia's defensive line last year. So I guess how is it looking throughout this offseason? How did spring go? How does Sark think that the spring went as far as offensive line?
Well, and it goes back to that depth question, Brent, when we were talking about building up the quality depth there so that, a guy like Cole Hudson, who wasn't technically a starter last year, but played a lot of snaps, can be ready to go. Neto Omeazulu, also another guy who can step in there. Brendan Baker's a guy. Trevor Gooseby had to play in key moments when Kelvin Banks was out. So there's guys who had a lot of snaps, even though they weren't quote-unquote starters other than Campbell. So there's a good feeling about what's there. Absolutely.
Yep. Again, Craig Way, the voice of the Texas Longhorns. Appreciate you taking some time with us and looking forward to the big one at Ohio State to start things off at the end of August.
You know what? 20 years ago, Texas went into Columbus, and they had some stuff to prove. USC was the unquestioned number 1 team in the country, but Texas knew that if they could find a way to win that game, and Ohio State was number 2 at the time, and if they could go in there and find a way to win that game, then they'd have a path toward playing for the national title. They beat Ohio State, and then they were, as they like to say in NASCAR, running in clean air. They were out front of everybody else other than USC all the way to the Rose Bowl. Well, now I think it's safe to say that either Texas or Ohio State will probably be number 1, and who isn't number 1 will be number 2. I know this. Whoever wins that game is probably going to be number 1, but there's still a path for whoever loses that game because of the high profile and high stakes venture that it is, that unlike 2005 where only the top 2 are going, 12 get into the playoffs. So it's a great test, but it doesn't have to be the be-all, end-all.
And I will tell you that Mr. College Football, Mr. Tony Barnhart himself yesterday said he sees Texas going in and upsetting them in the horseshoe.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, if he said it
yesterday, so
if Mr. College Football said that, if Tony Barnhart said it, it must be true.
Yep.
I'll take his word for it.
Absolutely.
Greg, appreciate the time.
Thanks, Colin.